Welcome back, everybody. This is section 1-2 for statistics. All right. So we talked yesterday about samples and populations and parameters and statistics. Now what we're going to get into is once we've gotten that stuff, how do we talk about data? What's the verbiage for data? How do we talk about data? Okay. So the first thing that we have to talk about are that there are two main ways that we could describe data. We could either have qualitative data or we could have quantitative data. Yeah, usually I shouldn't say usually, almost always they're defined as one or the other, qualitative or quantitative. Your brains probably think of quantitative data before qualitative data, just because this is a math class, right? Quantitative data consists of numerical measurements or counts. Like if I got everybody's average test score, that's quantitative data. If I got everybody's height, that's quantitative data. If I've got everybody's amount of screen time, that's quantitative data, right? Qualitative data would be attributes, labels, or non-numerical entries, like what's your favorite movie? That would be like, what's your favorite football team? Or what's your, what classes are you taking this year? That's qualitative data, right? I can gather that stuff and I can organize it in a specific way, but it's not numbers. It's not nothing that I could put, in numerical values. So that would be qualitative data, not quantitative data. Qualitative, root word there, quality, right? It has some sort of attribute, right? Data is consisting of attributes, labels, or non-numerical entries. You could even think of it, this is a little bit weird to think of, but think of your ID number. Think of your ID number. Does that number have any value? Does that number that is your ID number have any sort of numerical place value? No, it's really just like a label, right? It is your numerical label that we use to organize you guys, right? It is really just a label. So even though that is a numerical value, it is still a label on you. I would consider ID numbers to be a qualitative piece of data rather than a quantitative piece of data. That's where there's a little bit of a gray area where, yeah, it's still technically numbers, but it's not necessarily a value, right? It doesn't have a numerical value that we would think of, so therefore it's not necessarily quantitative, it's more qualitative. Again, the root word for quantitative is quantity, consisting of a value, consisting of a numerical measurement or a count of something. Okay. The table shows sports-related head injuries treated in the U.S. emergency rooms during a recent 5-year span for several sports. Okay. What piece of this data is qualitative and what piece of this data is quantitative? So let's look at the table that they give us. Sports-related head injuries treated in the U.S. emergency rooms, and we got the sports lifted down the left side, and then the head injuries treated down the right side. So we would say, okay, in terms of the qualitative data that has been collected here would be what? The type of sport, right? The type of sport, right? Type of sport. Type of sport. That would be the qualitative piece to this data. And what would be the quantitative piece to this data? The number of head injuries, exactly. The numbers, the amounts of head injuries. If I had just, if I had just collected the data of, and I had not counted the amount of head injuries, if I had just collected the data and said, okay, what sport did you play? What sport did you play? What sport did you play? That is just the qualitative piece, right? How could I organize that? Well, I could just show what types of sports that came into the ER that had caused head injuries. But now that I count them, now that I create a measurement off of that, well, now I can do something a little bit further. I can display that data in a different way. I can say, well, maybe I want to create like a bar chart, or I could create a pie chart. I could create a histogram off of these things, right? To represent it in a visual way to describe the data a little bit better. Okay, and what we're going to be looking at now is how how to the different types of data and how that plays a role in ways that we could describe it. So these are going to be levels of measurement. Levels of measurement. You might want to. I would write these down and title this piece "Levels of Measurement." Levels of measurement, because we are going to learn levels of measurement. We're going to learn. I don't know if this is today or tomorrow, but we're going to learn like data collection methods, and we're going to have to get these straight in our heads. The reason I say this is we have a list of levels of measurement, and like I think it was last year, somebody flip-flopped levels of measurement and data collection methods and like got them all wrong in the test. So please let these be separate in your head. These are levels of measurement. The nominal level of measurement, and these cascade. These like are kind of like umbrellas. The nominal level of measurement is a qualitative only. Qualitative only. Data at this level are categorized using names, labels, or qualities. No mathematical computations could be made at this level. So if I'm talking about it being the nominal level of measurement, that is like, think about the root word there, nominal. I would say like in name alone, right? If you're naming something, it's just qualitative. Data at this level are categorized using names, labels, or qualities. No mathematical computation could be made at that level. Like, so for example, if I asked you what classes you are taking, okay, that's the nominal level. If I asked what sport you got that head injury from, that's the nominal level. All I am doing is just spitting out that piece of information and you're done. Okay? It's qualitative only. Data at this level are categorized using names, labels, or qualities. No mathematical computations could be made at that level because it's only qualitative. Data at the ordinal level could be put into order. Where they're ordinal for order. The ordinal level of measurement are qualitative or quantitative. Data at this level can be arranged in order.
Did you do the thing yet?
I did.
My kids don't have it.
You don't have it? Oh, I didn't make them get their computers. I just got it.
No, the LHS thing is empty. Nothing in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. LHS Schoology?
There's no folders or anything?
Nothing.
Oh, maybe I'll have them do it at the end of class and see. Okay. Oops, I guess I should have done exactly what I said. Data at the ordinal level of measurement are qualitative or quantitative. Data at this level can be arranged in order, but differences between the data entries are not necessarily meaningful. So you could put things in order here. It could still be quantitative, right? It could be quantitative or qualitative. So it could still be qualitative, and so you could put them in order, but the difference in the data entries are not really meaningful. What does that mean? I could say, tell me your 5 favorite classes. List your classes in order of your favorites. Right? You're putting them in order, right? But the differences between them aren't really meaningful. Like English minus science is doesn't mean anything, right? The differences between them aren't really meaningful in terms of numerical value. I like to think here is a lot of when you're ranking things. That's the ordinal level. Okay, when you're ranking things, that's more often than not the ordinal level. Let me just go through and see the other ones too while we're at it. So those are the first two. These are the third one. The interval level. Keep cascading down now. The interval level is where quantitative gets dropped. Is where it's quantitative only. Qualitative gets dropped here. At the interval level of measurement, these are quantitative, no more qualitative. The data can be ordered, and you can calculate meaningful differences between data entries. But the ratio from one to another doesn't mean anything. At the interval level, a 0 entry simply represents a position on a scale. That's the key thing that really that really separates interval level from the next one, which is called ratio level. The interval level to ratio level, interval level 0 is just a value on a scale, right? It doesn't really mean 0 of that thing. It just means it's 0 on a scale. I like to think about that as like temperature. Okay, temperature. 0 is just a value of that represents a single temperature still, right? And it's just a position on a scale. I could go below 0, I could go above 0, right? I like to think about like time is that same way. Like year 0 is just a position on a scale, right? I could go below 0, I could go above 0. It's just a position on a sliding scale. That's the interval level. You're going to find that temperature and time are really the big ones that I use to describe interval level. And our last level is called the ratio level. The ratio level. Data at the ratio level of measurement are similar to data at the interval level with the added property that a 0 is actually 0 of that thing. The ratio level is like what you normally would think of gathering data for a statistics class, right? 0 means 0. Like if I had said like, tell me how many siblings you have. Like 0 siblings actually means you don't have any siblings, right? Like it means 0 of that value. That means that's a ratio level of measurement, right? If I said, how many miles do you drive in a given week? Like 0 actually means 0 miles, right? You have not driven anywhere, right? 0 means 0 at that point. It's an actual value. Here, the ratio of two data values can be formed so that one data value can be expressed as a multiple of another value. That's where it gets its name. That's a little bit harder to explain, but it basically means like, you know, if I say I drive 10 miles and somebody drives 20 miles, I can say that that person drives 2 times as much as I do, right? So you can say that you can express it in terms of a ratio. Like, for example, I don't want to use that example. Never mind. I think I use it later, so I don't want to get ahead of myself there. So let's take a look and see some examples of these things. This is the examples the book gives. Okay, jumping back here. Determine whether the data is, well, I guess I'm kind of letting the cat out of the bag, but let's take a look and see if we can identify what level these are. The book separated by level, by nominal, ordinal, and ratio and interval. Really, we should look at them all at the same time. So look at this table. What is this data that is being represented? The top 5 U.S. occupations with the most job growth, projected in 2024. Ranked first on the list is personal care aides. Second on the list is registered nurses. Third is home health aides. Fourth is combined food prep, service workers, fast food. 5 is retail salespersons. Okay, first off, is this data qualitative or quantitative? Qualitative, right? I know I have ranked them, but the 1, 2, 3, 4 is not my data. My data is what was collected. Okay, it's the occupation, right? Personal care aide, registered, that's what they responded with. And then I have ranked them. So because I have ranked them, it drops from nominal down to ordinal, doesn't it? I have put them in order. So this is where it would be for ordinal, right? This would be ordinal. Now notice here, movie genres. Have I ranked the movie genres? No. It's just showing them. It's just saying these are some movie genres. Like, I like to think of it this way. At least there's something that I can tell about this table, right? I know something based on this table. This is just like a list of movie genres. That's not telling me anything. All it's doing is representing it in names. Like, that's it. That is the least level. That's like the least you could possibly do with any sort of data. Just show it and just say this is what it is. You don't have any numerical values associated with it. It's only names, nominal. Okay. Take a look here. Examples of interval and ratio. Come on. There we go. Determine whether the data are at the interval or ratio level. So let's take a look at the left side here. Now, we would all agree that these are not nominal or ordinal because now I've moved down. I have qualitative data now. Or, excuse me, quantitative data now. right? These are numbers. These are actual values, right? Okay, New York Yankees World Series victories in years. Okay, I've got all these values here. But is 0 a value on a scale, or is it an actual value of 0 of something? Well, 0 here, because it is time, it's a position on a scale, which means that that is an interval level of measurement. Whenever you're talking about time, that's a big indicator that that's going to be interval level. Because 0 doesn't mean 0 of something, it actually just means year 0 on the scale of time. Here, 2016 American League home run totals by team. Okay, 2016 American League home run totals by team. The teams would be just I'm really screwing up there. Just qualitative data. And really, if I'm just representing, if I ignore the numbers here, that would just be nominal, right? If I ignore the numbers, if I've kind of blanked those out and I just list off the teams, that would be nominal. But now when I add in these values and I have associated with them their home run totals, okay, that's got a quantitative piece associated with it. And now, does 0 home runs actually mean a value of 0? Yes. So this is a ratio level. This right here would be a ratio level. See, and I can even think about it in this way. Like, I could take, Baltimore. That's crazy. Baltimore went crazy that year. Baltimore and Kansas City. 253 and Kansas City, 147. And I could find the ratio between those two values. 253 and 147. And I can say, okay, Baltimore had about 1.7 times as many home runs as Kansas City. They got a full room in here. There's no place to sit in here if you want. You can sit at mine.
I'm not going to stay long.
I've got extra chairs in the room. I had to pull one in here. 31 in the room. But what I'm getting at here is that if I really wanted to, I could create a ratio from one to the next and say, okay, Baltimore had 1.7 times as many home runs as Kansas City. And that's meaningful. A ratio from one to the next actually tells us something, actually means something. Like if I divided 2009 by 2000, does that really tell us anything? No. I could subtract them, and that would mean something, right? I would take a difference between the two, and that was interval, right? You could calculate meaningful differences, right? If I had said from 2009 to 2000, okay, that's meaningful. It has been 9 years since they had won a championship, right? That's meaningful. I could tell something about that. But if I took 2009 divided by 2000, that really doesn't mean anything. There's no actual meaning to that value. That's what breaks it from the interval to the ratio level. Okay. I like this diagram the book gives. Okay. I like this diagram the book gives because I think it's important to remember that these things are like umbrellas. They cascade downward. Okay? Mr. Lippy used to be a math teacher, so from time to time he comes in and he just likes to soak it up again. Yeah. That's how I got to be teaching some of the classes I got to teach, because then when he moved into administration, I got his course schedule, so it's cool. Okay, so taking a look here, nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio. Those are the 4 different levels of measurement, right? Okay. Remember, again, these things are like umbrellas. Like, I really could put anything that's in ratio level, I could put into categories. Anything that's in the ratio level, I could put in order. Anything at the ratio level, I could still subtract. Like, for example here, could I put these into categories? Yeah, I could say maybe my categories are any teams that have gotten, what's my lowest amount? Oh, it took 147, my lowest amount. Any team that has gotten from 100 to 175 home runs. 175 to 225, 225 to 275. I could create categories and put them in, right? So for the ratio level, I could put them into categories. I could arrange that in order. Could I sort this in order? Yeah, I could sort that in order. Could I subtract these values and mean something? Yeah, I could subtract Baltimore, I could subtract 253 minus 208 and say, yeah, they've scored that many more home runs, right? The difference means something, is reasonable, is meaningful. Determine if one data value is a multiple of another. Now that's specific to ratio level, right? That 1.7 times as much, right? But when I drop down and I say, okay, go to my interval level, I could still put these things in categories, right? I could still say, okay, how many championships have they won in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and say that. So I could put them into categories. I could arrange it in order. These are arranged in order, aren't they? In terms of time. I can subtract those data values. I could take 2009 minus 2000 and say it's been 9 years since. But can I express it in multiples of one another? Nah, that's not really meaningful. Take a look at what I can do with the ordinal level. Can I put these into categories? Yeah, I guess I could. Different types of different types of professions, I guess I could say. Yeah, I could put those into categories. Could I arrange them in order? Yeah, they where is that at? They are arranged in order, right? That's what makes it the ordinal level. But can I subtract? No. Like this doesn't have any personal carried minus registered nurse. No, that doesn't make sense. Right? So that's where it drops off. Here, nominal. Put into categories. Yeah, I could put them into categories like the genres, but that's it. That's all I can do. I can't even put them in order. Right? So do you see how I can do more with the ratio than the interval? I can do more from the interval than I could with the ordinal. I could express it in a different way from nominal to ordinal. So the most descriptive type of piece of data that you could possibly get are the ratio level. And that's really what we're going for there. Data that could be in the ratio level. Does that mean that things that are described in the nominal, ordinal, or interval level are not useful? No, by all means. Those have their place in time. But if you really want to do the most that you could possibly can with your data, you want to find something that could be ratio level. Okay. All right. That is it for today. Here is the homework for this lesson. We got page 13 to 15. 7, 10, 15, 21. 27, 29.
What do you think of my elbows? Your elbows look
That's not my video.
I know. You probably like